My name is Audrey Townsend, and I'm 44 years old. Last October, my mom called me at 10:00 on a Thursday night, gasping so hard I could barely understand her. And the only thing standing between her and the emergency room was a set of car keys locked inside my husband's nightstand drawer. My car was in the shop. The ambulance was 30 minutes away. I stood in our bedroom and told him my 82-year-old mother was having chest pains. He buttoned his shirt, picked up his wallet, and said 5 words I will carry for the rest of my life. Not my problem. Figure it out. Then he drove to poker night. So I figured it out without him. A neighbor answered his phone on the second ring. A doctor told me 15 more minutes would have been too late. And by the next morning, when my husband called me 38 times in a row, a woman in a hospital gown had already picked up a pen and changed everything. Let me take you back to the week before that Thursday, to the life I was living when I still thought my marriage was just difficult, not dangerous. I wake up at 5:30 every morning. Not because I want to, because there's no one else. Before I leave for my shift at the clinic, I drive 10 minutes to my mom's house, set out her morning pills, check her blood pressure cuff, fill her water pitcher. She has hypertension. Her doctor warned about cardiac risk 2 years ago. I know the numbers by heart because I'm a nurse and because she's my mom and because those two things together mean I don't get to not pay attention. Then I Dravito work. 8 hours on my feet at Millbrook Family Practice. Vitals, charts, phone calls, the occasional crying toddler. I'm good at my job. I've been doing it for 19 years. After my shift, I stop by mom's again. Dinner prep, medication check, trash to the curb if it's Thursday. Then I go home. Grant is usually on the couch by the time I walk in. Shoes off, TV on, plate from whatever he microwaved sitting on the coffee table. He doesn't ask about my mom. He hasn't asked about my mom in months. He asks what's for dinner. And when I remind him I already ate at mom's, he sigh like I've inconvenienced him. Last Tuesday, I told him my car needed to go into the shop. The check engine light had been on for 2 weeks. He looked at the TV and said, "Then take it in. I'll need your truck while mine's at Dale's." He didn't even turn his head. "I need my truck, Audrey. Borrow someone's car." That was Tuesday. The emergency came on Thursday. 2 days. That's all the distance between an inconvenience and a catastrophe. And the man who shared my bed couldn't bridge either one. Let me explain something about our money. Grant and I both work. We both deposit our paychecks into a joint account. But somewhere around year 5, Grant decided he was the financial manager. His words, any purchase over $50 goes through him. Groceries, fine, gas, fine, but a new set of scrubs for work. Do you really need those? A blood pressure monitor for mom. He sighed so loud the neighbors probably heard it. Doesn't your mother have Medicare? She does. The monitor wasn't covered. I bought it anyway. And he brought it up 3 separate times that week. His truck, a Ford F-150 he picked out himself, was bought with money from our joint account, but he calls it my truck. He keeps the spare key in a drawer in his nightstand. The drawer has a small lock on it. I'm not making that up. A grown man put a lock on his nightstand drawer in his own house. I tried opening a separate savings account once, just a small one, an emergency fund. He found the statements in the mail before I could get to them. What is this? It's a savings account, Grant. Behind my back, his face went red. That's a betrayal of trust, Audrey. We're a team. That's the word he used. As if a team has one person who controls the money and another person who asks permission to spend it. I closed the account. Not because he was right, because I was doing the math. Divorce meant splitting everything. Lawyers cost money, and my mom needed me stable, not bankrupt. So I stayed. I stayed because leaving was expensive, and love had stopped being the reason a long time ago. Mom's house sits on Birch Lane, 6 houses down from the elementary school where she taught 3rd grade for 31 years. It's a 3-bedroom Cape Cod with green shutters and a porch swing my dad installed the summer before he died. 5 years now. Heart attack in his sleep. Quick, merciful, they said. I hated that word. Mom paid off the mortgage in 2014. The house is hers, free and clear. Her name on the deed, her sweat in every floorboard. She keeps it immaculate. Even now, every cushion straight, every dish washed before bed. She's sharp, sharper than most people half her age. She reads 2 books a week, does the crossword in pen, and remembers every birthday of every student she ever taught. But her body is slowing down. Stairs take longer. Jars need someone else's hands, and her blood pressure, despite the pills, creeps up when she's tired. Wednesday afternoon, the day before everything changed, I stopped by after work. She was sitting at the kitchen table with a manila folder. "What's that, Mom?" "Just some paperwork. Harlan helped me sort a few things, Heron Webb, her lawyer. He handled Dad's estate after the funeral, helped her set up the will, the beneficiary forms, all of it. She'd mentioned seeing him the week before, but I didn't press. Everything okay?" She looked at me over her reading glasses. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. I just like to keep things in order." Then she closed the folder, slid it into the drawer of the hallway console, and asked me if I wanted tea. I didn't ask what was in the folder. I wish I had, but I also think she wasn't ready to tell me. Not yet. Not until she had to. Frank Callahan lives directly across the street from Mom. He's 68, retired Navy, built like a man who still does push-ups every morning because nobody told him he could stop. His wife, Ruth, passed 7 years ago. Ovarian cancer. He doesn't talk about it much, but there's a wind chime on his porch that Ruth picked out, and he's never taken it down. Frank started helping Mom the year Dad died. Small things at first. Carrying the trash cans to the curb, salting the walkway in January, then bigger things. He fixed the loose step on her back porch, replaced a section of gutter, mowed the lawn every Saturday without being asked. They have a system. Every night at 9, Mom turns on the porch light. Frank sees it from his living room window and flicks his on in return. It means, "I'm okay, I'm here, good night." If her light doesn't come on by 9:15, he calls. I thanked him once standing in Mom's driveway after he'd spent 2 hours patching a leak in her basement. "Frank, you don't have to do all this." He wiped his hands on a rag and shrugged. "Your dad would have done the same for my Ruth. That was it. No speech, no expectations, just a man who shows up. Grant knows who Frank is. He's met him maybe 4 times in 5 years. He calls him that retired guy who's always over there. Like Frank is a stray cat Mom feeds instead of a human being who checks on her every single night. Grant hasn't visited Mom on his own in 20 years. Not once, not on her birthday, not on Christmas, not when Dad died. He shows up when I drag him there and he sits in the truck until I'm done. Frank keeps his phone on the nightstand, volume all the way up. Force of habit from the Navy. He told me once that habit saved my mother's life. Thursday, October 17th, 10:17 p.m. I'm standing at the kitchen sink, rinsing the last plate from dinner. Grant left his on the coffee table again. I carried it in myself, same as always. My phone buzzes on the counter. Mom's name, she never calls this late. I pick up Audrey. Her voice is wrong, thin, shredded at the edges like she's breathing through a straw. "Mom, my chest, baby, it's heavy. I can't." My training kicks in before my fear does. Pressure, shortness of breath. 82 years old. History of hypertension. "Mom, sit down. Don't move. I'm coming." I dial 911 on the landline while keeping her on my cell. The dispatcher is calm, professional. I give Mom's address, her age, symptoms. Then comes the part that turns my blood cold. "Ma'am, our unit is currently on a call in Ridgemont. Estimated response time is 25 to 30 minutes. 1 ambulance, 1 for the whole county. 25 minutes, we're dispatching now. Ma'am, stay on the line, I hang up. I don't have 25 minutes. Mom doesn't have 25 minutes. I grab my keys off the hook by the door. Muscle memory. Then I stop. My hand closes around air and metal that belongs to a car sitting on a lift at Dale's Auto Body, 10 miles down Route 9. No car. I look at the driveway through the kitchen window. Grant's truck is parked right there. Silver F-150, full tank. 10 minutes to Mom's house, but the keys are upstairs in his nightstand in the locked drawer. I take the stairs 2 at a time. Grant is buttoning his shirt in front of the bedroom mirror. Getting ready for Thursday poker at Craig's house. I don't have time for a gentle approach. "Grant, Mom is having chest pains. I need the truck keys now." He doesn't turn around. He's working on his collar in the mirror. I'm heading out. Call somebody. There is nobody. My car's in the shop. The ambulance is 30 minutes away. I need the truck. He turns then, not alarmed, annoyed like I've interrupted something important. Audrey, come on, she does this. She's never done thighs. She can barely breathe. So call the ambulance. I did 25 minutes, Grant, at least. He picks up his wallet, slides it into his back pocket. Not my problem. Figure it out. 5 words. He says them the way someone says pass the salt. No heat, no cruelty you could point to in a courtroom, just absence. Just a man telling his wife that her 82-year-old mother's heart is not worth rearranging his evening. He grabs his jacket off the bed, walks past me close enough that his shoulder almost touches mine, close enough to hand me the keys. He doesn't. I follow him to the top of the stairs. Grant, the guys are waiting. Your mom's been fine for 82 years. The front door opens, closes. The truck engine turns over. Headlights sweep across the hallway wall as he backs out of the driveway. Then it's quiet. I stand in the hallway holding my phone. On the other end, Mom's breathing is shallow, fast. She whispers something I can't make out. I have no car, no truck, no husband, but I have Frank's number. Pull up his contact and press call. First ring, second ring, Audrey, Frank, Mom's having chest pains, I don't have a car, 3 seconds of silence. I'm putting on my shoes, 3 minutes. Frank pulls into my driveway in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I know because I'm counting. We don't speak in the car. He drives the way military people drive in emergencies. Fast, smooth, no wasted movement. 10 minutes to Mom's house becomes 4. I'm through the front door before he's out of the truck. Mom is on the floor beside the sofa. She must have tried to stand and couldn't. Her hand is pressed flat against her sternum, fingers white. Her face is the color of old paper. Mom, I'm here. I check her pulse, weak, fast. I open her medicine cabinet. I keep it stocked myself and find the aspirin. Chew this. Don't swallow it whole. She nods. Her jaw barely moves, but she does it. Frank appears in the doorway. We driving or waiting? Driving. Help me get her up. Frank lifts her like she weighs nothing, carries her to the back seat. I climb in beside her, her head against my shoulder. She grabs my hand and squeezes. Not hard. She doesn't have hard left. 12 minutes to Millbrook Memorial. Frank doesn't run a single red light because there's only one between Birch Lane and the hospital. He makes it in 11. The ER team takes her in immediately. Vitals, oxygen, EKG. I'm standing in the hallway in my pajama pants and a sweater I grabbed off the couch, watching them wheel my mom through double doors when the attending comes back out 20 minutes later. Mild meordial infection. We caught it early. She's stable. Then he says the part I'll never forget. Another 15 to 20 minutes and we'd be having a very different conversation. Frank is behind me. He doesn't say a word. He just hands me a terrible cup of vending machine coffee and sits down in the plastic chair next to mine. He didn't ask why. He didn't ask where Grant was. He just showed up. I'm sitting in this hospital waiting room at midnight watching Frank bring me a terrible cup of vending machine coffee. And I'm thinking, this man owes me nothing. He's my mom's neighbor. And he drove through the dark without a single question. Meanwhile, the man I married 20 years ago couldn't hand over a set of keys. If you've ever been the one who always shows up for people who never show up for you, drop a comment. Tell me what was your not my problem moment. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. This story is far from over. 1 a.m. the Ike Yui's a world of low hums and slow beeps. Mom is stable, sedated, monitored. A nurse checks on her every 20 minutes. I sit in the hallway on a chair that was designed by someone who has never had to sit in a chair for more than 10 minutes. Frank sits beside me. He hasn't left. He hasn't even mentioned leaving. I pull out my phone. No messages, no missed calls, no texts, nothing from Grant. He's been gone almost 3 hours. He knows I had no car. He knows my mom was in distress and he hasn't sent a single word. I stare at the blank screen and something shifts behind my ribs. Not sadness, something harder, something with edges. I think about the first time I met Grant. I was 24, fresh out of nursing school, working my first job at a clinic in Bridgewater. He came in with a cut on his hand from a table saw. Charming, funny, protective, I thought at the time. He insisted on driving me home that night, even though I had my own car. Protective. That's the word I used for years. I didn't have a word for what it became. For the locked drawer, the controlled account, the slow erosion of choices until the only ones left were his. The ICU nurse, a woman I don't recognize, steps out. "Mrs. Townsend, your mom's asking for you." I stand, my knees crack. Frank looks up. "Go," he says. "I'll be here." I walk through the ICU doors and find Mom in bed, too. Her eyes are open. The oxygen tube sits across her face. Her color is better. Still pale, but alive pale, fighting pale. She sees me and her lips move a before the sound comes. "Who drove me here?" "Frank," I say. Mom nods slowly. She expected that answer. "And where's Grant?" I don't say anything. I pull the chair closer to her bed and sit down. The monitor beeps. A ventilator hisses somewhere down the hall. "Audrey." Her voice is thin, but her eyes aren't. "Where's your husband?" "Poker night, Mom." She closes her eyes, not the way people do when they're tired. The way they do when something they've suspected for a long time finally gets confirmed. One long breath in, one long breath out. When she opens her eyes again, something has changed. The softness is gone. What's left is the woman who raised 2 girls alone after Dad's second shift at the plant, who graded papers at midnight, who never once asked anyone to feel sorry for her. "Call Heron in the morning." "Mom, it's 1:00 a.m. in the morning." "Audrey, first thing, tell him I'm ready." "Ready for what?" She looks at me. "Steady, clear. I told you I saw him last week. I asked him to draft some changes. I wasn't sure. Now I'm sure." I open my mouth to ask more, but she shakes her head. "Not tonight. Tonight you sit with me. Tomorrow we handle it." She reaches for my hand. Her grip is lighter than it used to be, but it's there. "Cert." I hold it and I don't let go. The monitor beeps. "Steady. Even, I built that house with your father," she says quietly, brick by brick. "I know exactly who deserves to live in it." I don't ask what she means. Part of me already knows. Part of me has known for a while. I sit there and hold her hand and listen to the machine tell me she's still alive. Here's what I found out later. Grant got to Craig's house at 10:45, 28 minutes after he told me to figure it out. The game was already going. Craig, Donnie, Marcus, and now Grant. 4 guys, a folding table, beer, and a deck of cards. Craig asked about me. That's the kind of guy Craig is. His wife Val works at the school district office, and they send Mom a Christmas card every year. "How's Audrey? How's Dorothy?" Grant didn't look up from his hand. "Fine." Audrey's being dramatic about her mom again. Dramatic how? Chest pains or something. She wanted my truck. I told her to handle it. Craig put his cards down. "Your mother-in-law is having chest pains and you're here." Grant waved it off. "She complains every week. It's nothing." Craig looked at Donnie. Donnie looked at his beer. Nobody said anything else. The game continued. Grant played until 12:30, $180, drove home with the windows down, feeling good about his night. The house was dark. He assumed I was asleep. He didn't check the bedroom. Didn't notice my shoes weren't by the door. Didn't see that my phone charger was gone from the nightstand. He brushed his teeth, climbed into bed, and fell asleep in 4 minutes. 8 hours. Grant slept 8 hours while my mother lay in the ICU with an oxygen tube across her face. I know about Craig's reaction because Craig told his wife and Val called me 2 days later. She was crying when she called. Audrey, I didn't know until Craig came home. "I am so sorry." Craig never invited Grant to poker again. None of them did, but that comes later. First came the morning. First came the 38 calls. Friday 7 a.m. Grant rolls over and reaches for the other side of the bed. Empty sheets cold. He sits up, walks downstairs. No coffee brewing, no shoes by the door, no jacket on the hook. He calls my phone straight to voicemail. I turned it to silent the night before in the ICU and hadn't touched it since. He calls again. Voicemail again. Voicemail. He sends a text. "Where are you?" Delivered, not read. He calls 5 more times, 7 more, 10 more, each call a little faster than the last. The gap between rings shrinking from minutes to seconds. I want to be clear about something. He wasn't worried about my mom. He was worried about me being gone. Those are different things and the difference matters. At call 26, he phones Craig. "Have you heard from Audrey?" Craig's voice is flat. "You serious right now?" "She's not home. She's not answering." "Grant, your mother-in-law was admitted to Millbrook Memorial last night. Heart attack. Audrey's been there since 11. Silence. Craig doesn't feel it. Val heard from one of the nurses this morning. Dorothy had a myocardial infarction. They said if she'd gotten there 15 minutes later. I didn't know. Yeah, man, you did. She told you. You said it wasn't your problem. Grant sits on the edge of the bed, the same bed he slept in for 8 hours, while his wife held her mother's hand in a hospital room 14 miles away. He makes 12 more calls after that. Total 38. I don't answer a single one. Not because I was punishing him, because I was sitting next to my mother watching her breathe, and she was the only person who mattered. He drove to the hospital in 11 minutes. He wasn't ready for what was waiting. 6:45 a.m. before Grant even woke up. I'm standing in the hospital corridor holding a paper cup of black coffee looking at my phone. Mom told me to call Heron first thing, so I do. He picks up on the third ring. For a 63-year-old man, Heron Webb keeps early hours. Audrey, your mother called me yesterday to confirm a few things. Is she all right? She had a heart attack last night. Heron mild. She's stable. She's asking for you. A pause, then carefully. She and I met last Tuesday. She asked me to draft revisions to her will. I have the updated documents ready. My chest tightens. She did that last week. Before last night, yes, she'd been considering changes for some time. Last night didn't create her decision, Audrey. It confirmed it. I lean against the corridor wall. The fluorescent light above me flickers down the hall while a cart rattles past. I can be at the hospital by 10:00. Heron says she'll need to sign in front of 2 witnesses. I'll bring the originals and the revised draft. I'll call Janine. Good. Your sister should be present. I hang up and dial Janine. She picks up on the first ring. She was already awake, already worried because I hadn't sent my usual morning text. Audrey, what happened? I tell her all of it. Mom, the chest pains, the ambulance delay, Grant, the truck, Frank. She listens without interrupting, which for Janine is the loudest kind of anger. I'm leaving now, she says. 3 hours. Don't let anything happen before I get there. I walk back to Mom's room. She's awake, sipping water through a straw. Harlan's coming at 10, I say. She nods, no surprise. She's been waiting for this. I thought you made this decision last night, Mom. She looks at me. I made it weeks ago, sweetheart. Last night just told me I was right. 8:15 a.m. Grant walks into the ER lobby like a man entering a building he doesn't belong in. Hands in his pockets, eyes scanning. The front desk directs him to the cardiac wing. 2nd floor, room 214. I hear him before I see him. His boots on the linoleum. That particular stride, heavy heel, quick toe that I've been listening to for 20 years. He appears in the doorway, hair-uncombed, same shirt from last night. He looks at me, then at Frank, who's sitting in the corner chair with a cross-word puzzle he found in the waiting room. Audrey, why didn't you answer your phone? I've been calling all morning. I don't stand up. Mom had a heart attack last night, Grant. I know. Craig told me. Why didn't you? I did tell you. I stood in our bedroom and told you, Mom, chest pains. I need the truck. He shifts his weight. I didn't think it was serious. You didn't think about it at all. Frank doesn't look up from his crossword. He doesn't need to. His presence alone is doing enough. Grant takes a step into the room. Mom's eyes are open. She's looking at him the way a teacher looks at a student who turned in a blank test. Dorothy, I'm sorry. I didn't realize, Grant. Her voice is quiet, stripped down. Close the door, please. He reaches for the door handle from the outside. The words land softly. No anger in them, no venom. Just a woman in a hospital bed drawing a line she should have drawn years ago. Grant looks at me. I look at my mother. Frank sets down his crossword and stands. He walks to the door, places his hand on it gently, and eases it shut with Grant on the other side. The latch clicks, and just like that, Grant is outside. Janine pulls into the hospital parking lot at 9:45. I meet her at the elevator. She hugs me so hard my ribs ache. Her eyes are red. She drove 3 hours from Carterville in the dark, and she's shaking, not from cold, but from the kind of anger that lives in the jaw. Tell me everything, I tell her. She listens, gripping my arm, nodding slowly, her mouth getting thinner with every sentence. He said, not my problem, word for word, and he went to play poker, $180. Janine's hands ball into fists at her sides. She stares down the hallway. Grant is sitting in the waiting area, 2 chairs away from the vending machine. He's holding a cup of coffee he hasn't touched. She walks toward him. Janine, save it, Grant. He stands up. I know this looks bad. It doesn't look bad, Grant. It is bad. I drove 3 hours. You couldn't drive 10 minutes. He opens his mouth. Nothing comes out. Janine looks at him the way you look at a stain you can't get out of a good shirt, not worth the effort. Then she turns and walks into Mom's room. Mom is sitting up in bed, more color in her face. She opens her arms and Janine folds into her, careful of the IV line, and just holds her. I hear Janine whisper, "I'm here, Mom, I'm here." Mom pats her hair like she used to when we were little. At 10:00, Sharp Harland Webb steps off the elevator, navy suit, briefcase, reading glasses already on. He nods at me, shakes Janine's hand, and walks into Mom's room like a man who has done this before. Because he has. The door closes behind him. In the hallway, Grant stands alone with a cold cup of coffee and no idea what's about to happen. Grant sees the suit. He sees the briefcase and something in his posture changes. A stiffening like a dog that hears a sound it can't place. He walks to the door off Mom's room. A nurse stops him. "Sir, the patient's family requested privacy. I am family." The nurse glances at her chart. "I'm sorry, sir. I have a note here. Immediate family only during this visit." Grant's jaw tightens. He leans past her, trying to see through the narrow window in the door. Curtain pulled. He steps back, pulls out his phone, calls me. I see his name light up on my screen. I press decline. He calls again. I silence it. He stands in the hallway, packing. 3 steps left, 3 steps right. Then he does what Grant always does when he feels the ground shifting. He calls his mother. I can't hear the conversation, but I know what he said because he told me later during one of his many attempts to rewrite the story. He told Sandra, his mom, a version where he was the victim, where Dorothy was overreacting, where I was shutting him out, where a lawyer showing up at a hospital room was suspicious. Sandra, to her credit or her bias, fed him exactly what he wanted to hear. "Those are your marital assets, too, Grant. You have rights." He repeated that like a prayer for the rest of the morning. "I have rights. I have rights." He didn't, though. Not to any of it. Mom's house was bought and paid for before I ever met Grant. Her savings were hers. Her life insurance policy was hers. None of it had Grant's name on it. None of it ever did. But Grant had spent 20 years assuming that what was Mom's would become mine and what was mine was already his. Assumptions are expensive, and they're wrong. Grant is still packing when his phone buzzes. Craig, he picks up fast. "Craig, something weird is happening at the hospital. Audrey's got a lawyer in Dorothy's room and nobody's telling me." "Grant, stop." "What?" "Val talked to one of the nurses this morning. I know everything. The chest pains, the truck, what you said, all of it. I didn't. You told Audrey not my problem. She told you her mother was having chest pains and you walked out the door. I didn't know it was that bad. You knew. She said chest pains. She asked for the truck. You said no and left for poker." Grant rubs his face. "Craig, I messed up. I know that. But this a lawyer at the hospital. This is an overreaction, is it? If your mom called Val at 10 at night saying she couldn't breathe and Val told her to figure it out so she could go play cards, what would you do?" Silence. "I'd divorce her the next morning. That's what I'd do. And you know it." Grant leans against the wall. His hand is shaking around the phone. "You want to know why nobody from the group has texted you? Because none of us know what to say to a guy who sat at a poker table while his mother-in-law was having a heart attack. We were all there, man. We were eating chips and raising bets while that woman almost died. Craig, don't call me for a while, Grant. I need to sit with this." The line goes dead. Grant stands in the hallway of Millbrook Memorial, phone in hand. And for the first time, the silence around him isn't peaceful. It's populated. Every nurse who walks by, every aide who avoids eye contact, every closed door, they all know. Small town. They all know the cardiac wing waiting room is small. 6 chairs, a mounted TV playing morning news on mute, and a table with magazines nobody reads. Grant sits in the corner alone. Sarah Briggs walks past. She's the charge nurse on the morning shift. She and I worked together at Millbrook Family Practice for 3 years before she transferred to the hospital. We still have lunch sometimes. Sarah knows Grant's face, and by now she knows the story. Not because anyone told her directly, but because this hospital has 32 beds, 14 nurses, and 0 secrets. She stops in front of him, professional, measured. Mr. Townsend, Audrey's been here since last night. Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee? Her voice is neutral, perfectly polite, but Grant hears something in it. Or maybe he sees something, a particular kind of knowing in the way she holds his gaze one beat too long. I'm fine, he says. Okay, let none of us know if you need anything. She walks away. Grant watches her go. He looks around the waiting room. An elderly couple sits across from him. The man holds his wife's hand loosely, absently. The way you hold something you've held for 50 years. A young father near the window has a toddler sleeping on his shoulder, one hand on her back. Grant sits with his cold coffee and his phone full of declined calls and his hands that held a set of keys 12 hours ago and chose poker over a 10-minuta drive. He's never felt small before. Not once in 20 years. Not in arguments. Not in the silence after arguments. Not even when I cried. But sitting in that plastic chair, watching a stranger hold his wife's hand, he feels it. He doesn't understand it yet. He won't for a long time, but the feeling is there. Behind the closed door of room 214, a pen is about to touch paper. Inside the room, Harlan opens his briefcase and sets 2 folders on the rolling tray table. One is cream-colored, the original will, the other is blue, the revised draft. Mom is sitting up. The head of her bed is raised to 45 degrees. Her oxygen tube is off. The doctor approved it an hour ago. She's wearing her own reading glasses now, the tortoise shell ones she keeps in her purse. Dorothy Harlan says, I have your current will and the revised version you requested last Tuesday. I'll summarize the changes and you can review before signing. Mom nods. In the current will, Audrey is your primary beneficiary. Grant Townsend is listed as a secondary beneficiary. Specifically, he retains usage rights to the Birch Lane property in the event Audrey predescases you. And in the new one, Grant Townsend has been removed entirely. Your estate, the house, savings, and life insurance policy is divided equally between Audrey and Janine. In the event either predescases you, the other receives the full share. Mom looks at me, then at Janine, then back at Heron. Where do I sign? Heron slides the document across the tray. Mom picks up the pen, one of those heavy silver pens she keeps in her purse, the one Dad gave her for their 30th anniversary. She signs 3 places, initials on 2 more. Harlan signs as the executing attorney. A hospital administrative assistant called in 5 minutes earlier signs as the second witness. Janine signs an acknowledgement that she was present. 4 minutes. That's how long it takes. 4 signatures, 2 witnesses, 1 pen, and 20 years of Grant's assumptions erased. Mom hands the pen back to Heron. Should have done this a long time ago, she says. Heron closes the blue folder. It's done, Dorothy. Good. She settles back against the pillow. Now somebody bring me some real food. Hospital eggs taste like regret. Janine laughs. I almost do. Almost. My mom just signed her name on a document that erased my husband from her will. She didn't hesitate. She didn't cry. She said, should have done this a long time ago. And handed the pen back to Heron like she was signing a grocery receipt. And honestly, watching her do that, 82 years old in a hospital gown with an IV in her arm, was the most powerful thing I've ever seen. If you've ever watched someone you love finally stand up for themselves or for you, type enough in the comments. And please share this story. Someone out there needs to hear it tonight. Harlan steps out of room 214 first. He nods at Grant, a polite professional nod, the kind lawyers give strangers in elevators, and walks toward the elevator without a word. Briefcase in one hand, the cream-colored folder tucked under his arm. The blue one stays behind in Mom's room in the drawer of the bedside table. Grant watches him go. Then he's through the door before anyone can stop him. What just happened? Why was there a lawyer in here? I'm still sitting beside Mom's bed. Janine is standing by the window, arms crossed. Mom is resting against the raised pillow, glasses off, hands folded. Mom updated her will, I say. Updated what? How? She's in a hospital bed. She's competent, Grant. The doctor confirmed it this morning. Grant looks at Mom, then at Janine, then at me. His eyes move fast, searching for the crack in the room. The person who will side with him explain that this is a mistake. Reassure him that he's still inside the circle. There isn't one. Dorothy. He turns to Mom. You removed me. Mom's voice is even. Not cold, not warm level. The voice of a woman who spent 31 years managing rooms full of 8-year-olds and never once had to raise it. You removed yourself, Grant. Last night when you took those keys and walked past my daughter. I didn't know you knew. She told you my chest hurt. She asked for help. You chose poker. Grant's mouth opens and closes. His hands are at his sides, fingers flexing. He looks like a man who just walked into a room he was sure he owned and found the locks changed. I didn't raise my daughter to beg her own husband for a ride to save my life. Nobody speaks after that. Not for a long time. Grant tries. I'll give him that. He runs through every defense I has. The same scripts he's used for 20 years whenever I pushed back. I didn't think it was serious. I told you she couldn't breathe. Grant, you always say things are urgent. Janine steps forward. She's a nurse, Grant. She doesn't exaggerate. She literally measures urgency for a living. He pivots. Dorothy, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. Mom's voice doesn't waver. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. A mistake is burning dinner. You heard your wife say her mother was in medical distress and you chose to leave. That's not a mistake. That's a decision. But removing me from I've been part of this family for 20 years. Have you? Mom adjusts the blanket across her lap. When's the last time you visited me without Audrey dragging you? When's the last time you asked about my health, my medications, whether I'd eaten? Silence. That house was your father-in-law's dream, she says. He worked double shifts for 11 years to pay it off. And when I go, I need to know it goes to someone who understands what it cost. Grant turns to me. His voice drops softer now. The voice he uses when he's tried anger and it didn't work. Audrey, talk to me. We can work this out. There's nothing to work out. Mom made her decision, but this affects us. No, it affects you. Mom's property is Mom's property. It always has been. He stands in the middle of the room and I watch the realization land slowly, like a stone sinking through deep water. This isn't a fight he can win with volume or logic or guilt. This isn't a negotiation, it's a consequence. You didn't forget, Grant. You chose. There's a difference. Let me tell you what was on those pages. Mom and Dad's house on Birch Lane. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, green shutters, paid off since 2014. The county assessed it at $280,000 last year. In Millbrook, that's a lifetime. Mom's savings account at First Federal, $95,000. $31 years of teaching, summers spent tutoring, birthday money she never spent on herself, pension checks deposited like clockwork. That money has her handwriting all over it, figuratively and literally. She balanced the checkbook by hand every month until last year. Life insurance policy through the teachers' union, $150,000. She took it out when Dad got sick, kept paying the premiums after he died, just in case, she said. Total roughly $525,000. In the original will, I was the primary beneficiary. Janine and I split most of it. But Grant was listed as a secondary beneficiary. If I died before Mom, he'd get usage rights to the house, not ownership, usage. Mom was careful about that distinction. But Grant never read the actual document. He just assumed Dorothy dies, Audrey inherits, and what's Audrey's is ours. Ours. That word again. In the new will, Audrey and Janine, 50-50. If one of us dies first, the other gets everything. Grant's name appears nowhere. Not as a beneficiary, not as a trustee, not as a footnote. And here's the thing Grant never considered. The house he and I live in, the one on Maple Drive, is a rental. We don't own it. The lease is in both our names, but there's no equity, no asset. Grant's truck is in his name alone. His half of our joint savings is about $11,000. He'd been counting money that was never his to count. Grant walks out of room 214. Nobody follows him. He passes Sarah at the nurse's station. She's charting. She looks up briefly, then back down. The pen keeps moving. In the waiting room, the elderly couple is gone. The young father with the toddler is gone. New people sit in their places. A woman knitting. A teenager with headphones. None of them look at Grant. None of them need to. He takes the elevator down, crosses the lobby, pushes through the double doors into the parking lot. October air, cool and sharp, the kind that makes your lungs sting. He sits in his truck, doesn't start it, just sits. The keys are in his hand, the same keys, the ones he held 12 hours ago when he walked past me in the hallway. The ones could have pressed into my palm in 2 seconds. The ones that would have put me in the driver's seat and Mom in the ER 40 minutes earlier. He stares at them. Then he calls Sandra, his mother. Mom, Dorothy changed her will. She took me out of everything. I can imagine Sandra's voice, tight, indignant, already building a case. She can't do that. That's your family's money. It's not, Mom. It's hers. It's always been hers. That's the first true sentence Grant has spoken in 24 hours, and it comes out surprised, like he's hearing it for the first time, even though the information has been sitting in plain sight for 2 decades. He sits in that truck for 20 minutes, engine off, windows up, staring at the brick face of the hospital where his mother-in-law almost died and his marriage is almost certainly ending. He doesn't call to ask how Dorothy is doing. Not once, even now. Even after everything, he still doesn't ask. Mom sleeps most of Friday afternoon. The cardiologist comes by at 2, says she's recovering well, wants to keep her through the weekend for monitoring. Janine and I take shifts, one in the room, one in the cafeteria. At 4:00, Janine sits down across from me over 2 cups of bad coffee. What are you going to do? I've been asking myself the same question since 10:17 last night. But sitting here now in the antiseptic quiet of a hospital cafeteria, the answer is simpler than I expected. I can't go back to that house and pretend everything's normal. You don't have to. I know. Janine reaches across the table. Come stay with me. You and Mom both. I have the room. I need to stay in Millbrook. My job, Mom's doctors, everything's here, then stay with Mom, move into the house. She'll need help recovering anyway. I nod. That's the answer. That makes sense. The one that was always there, waiting for me to stop being afraid of it. I call Grant at 5. He picks up before the first ring finishes. Audrey, please, we need to talk. Here's what's happening. Grant, Mom's staying through weekend. When she's discharged, I'm moving into her house to help her recover. I need time. We need time. Audrey, you said not my problem. Those were your words. Now I'm saying I need to figure this out on my own the way I always have. That's not fair. Fair. The word sits between us like a stone. You want to talk about fair, he doesn't answer. I'm not punishing you, Grant. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference you never learned. I hang up gently. No slam, no drama. I just set the phone on the table and watch the screen go dark. It's the quietest I've felt in years. Monday morning, Mom is discharged with a folder of prescriptions, a follow-up schedule taped to the inside cover, and strict instructions about sodium, stairs, and stress. I drive her home in my car back from Dale's since Saturday. New alternator, $240 I put on my own credit card without asking anyone's permission. When we pull onto Birch Lane, Frank is standing on Mom's porch. He's installed a new handrail on the front steps. Pressure-treated wood, sanded smooth, bolted solid. The porch light is on even though it's 11 in the morning. Frank, you didn't have to. Handle's been loose since June. Just got around to it. Mom takes the new railing with one hand and Frank's arm with the other. 3 steps up. She's slower than before, but steady. She stops at the top and looks at the porch swing. Swing's still here, she says. Swings don't leave Dorothy. She almost smiles. Inside, the house Isklian. Frank again, I suspect, though he'll deny it. I carry my 2 suitcases up to my old bedroom. The wallpaper is the same yellow daisy pattern from 1996. The bed is made. A glass of water is already on the nightstand. I spend the afternoon organizing Mom's medications into a weekly pill case, prepping 3 days of meals, and tapping the cardiologist number to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a lobster from a trip to Maine we took when I was 12. At 6:00, Frank knocks with a casserole. Chicken and rice, his wife Ruth's recipe, he says. Mom takes it with both hands. Frank Callahan, you keep feeding me and I'll never learn to fend for myself. That's the idea, Dorothy. They look at each other the way old neighbors do. Not romance, not obligation, just the quiet agreement to keep showing up. That evening, I turn on the porch light. Across the street, Frank turns on his "I'm here. You're here. Good night." Grant calls every day for the first 2 weeks. The tone shifts like weather. Monday, anger. "You're overreacting, Audrey. This is ridiculous." Wednesday, guilt. "I said, I'm sorry. How many times do I have to say it?" Friday, bargaining. "I'll go to counseling." "I'll apologize to your mother. Just come home. I listen. I don't argue. I don't negotiate. You keep saying you'll change, Grant. But this isn't the first time. It's the last time." What does that mean? It means I've heard that word before. Change, and it never meant anything except stop being upset with me. He goes quiet. "Then this is about the money, isn't it? The will." I almost laugh, almost. "Grant, if you think this is about money, then you still don't understand what happened that night, and you probably never will." I hang up. I don't feel angry. I don't feel sad. I feel like someone who just set down a suitcase she didn't know she was carrying. The house on Maple Drive is falling apart. Not literally, but Grant was never the one who kept it running. The dishes stack up, the laundry piles. He burns rice twice in 1 week. I know this because he accidentally pocket dials me, and I hear the smoke alarm in the background before the call drops. Craig doesn't call him. The poker group dissolves. Donnie and Marcus fade into polite avoidance. Val, Craig's wife, sends me a card. "You're stronger than you know, Audrey. We're here." Grant eats alone, drives alone, comes home to a dark house. For 20 years, I did everything so he wouldn't have to feel this. I see that now. I was the engine. He was the passenger. And the moment I stopped driving, everything stopped. Change isn't a promise, it's a pattern. And his pattern was always the same. 3 weeks after the night Mom's heart stopped working the way it was supposed to, I sit in the office of Claire Denning, family law attorney 2 towns over in Bridgewater. She's direct. I like her immediately. Irreconcilable differences. She says that's what goes on the filing. You don't have to detail the specifics. I don't write because he wouldn't lend me his truck. But that's the truth stripped to its simplest form. A woman asked her husband for help. He said no. Everything that followed was gravity. The papers are filed on a Wednesday. Grant is served at the house on Maple Drive the following Friday. He calls. Of course he calls. "You're really doing this?" "Yes, Audrey. 20 years, I know, Grant. I was there for every one of them. I can change. I'm already when Mom was on the floor. What did you do?" "I didn't know you knew. I told you. And you chose poker." "And if you could go back right now to that hallway, would you hand me the keys?" "Yes, of course, but you didn't. And that's the thing about moments, Grant. You don't get to answer them in hindsight. You answer them when they happen. And your answer was not my problem. Silence. The opposite of love isn't hate, Grant. It's indifference. And you've been indifferent for years. That night just made it impossible to ignore. He's crying. I can hear it. Quiet, muffled. Like he's pressing the phone against his chest. For a moment, one small, honest moment. I feel sorry for him. Not sorry enough to stop, but sorry enough to say goodbye gently. "Take care of yourself, Grant." I set the phone down. Not a slam, not a click, just the soft sound of something being put in its proper place. Millbrook has 8,000 people. That's large enough to have a Walmart and small enough that the cashier at the Save a Lot knows your mother's maiden name. Nobody confronts Grant. That's not how small towns work. What they do is adjust. At the clinic, Dr. Patel asks me how Mom is doing. Not once, every morning. The other nurses leave meals in the break room fridge with my name on the lid. For Dorothy, they write, "Chicken soup, baked ziti, a full Thanksgiving plate in November," with a note. She earned every bite. At church, Pastor Dale mentions Mom in the prayer circle. 3 women I barely know bring casseroles to Birch Lane on a rotating schedule I didn't organize. Grant notices it the other way. Ruth Hammond at the Save a Lot rings up his groceries one Tuesday afternoon and says, without quite looking at him, "Tell Dorothy I'm praying for her." She's a good woman. Neutral tone, friendly even. But the message underneath is clear as a bell. I know what you did. At work, Craig keeps it professional. They're in different departments at the distribution warehouse. Grant in logistics, Craig in shipping. They nod in the hallway. They don't eat lunch together anymore. Grant eats in his truck now. I hear this secondhand from Val, from people at the clinic, from the hum of a town that doesn't gossip so much as it remembers. Millbrook doesn't forget. It doesn't shout. It just rearranges quietly, firmly, until the person who caused the damage is standing on the outside of every circle they used to take for granted. Nobody says you deserve this. Nobody has to. The silence says it for them. Sandra Townsend drives 45 minutes from Ridgemont on a Saturday morning. She doesn't call ahead. I'm in the kitchen when I hear the knock. Momi's in the living room reading. I open the door and there's Sandra. Silver hair pinned back, wool coat buttoned to the throat, jaw set like a woman preparing for a courtroom she was never invited to. I'd like to speak with Dorothy. I step aside because this is Mom's house and Mom's fight. Sandra sits across from Mom in the living room. I stay in the kitchen close enough to hear every word through the open doorway. Dorothy, my son made a mistake, but cutting him out of your will. Don't you think that's extreme? Mom lifts her teacup, takes a slow sip, sets it back on the saucer. Sandra, if your daughter-in-law refused to let your son borrow a car while you were having a heart attack so she could go play cards, what would you do? Sandra's mouth opens. Nothing comes out. That's what I thought. He's not a bad man, Dorothy. He panicked. He didn't panic. He went to poker. Panic is when you don't know what to do. He knew exactly what he was doing. He just didn't care. Sandra stands. This conversation isn't productive. No, it isn't because there's nothing to discuss. My money goes where my trust goes, and trust is earned, Sandra, not inherited. Sandra leaves without another word. The front door closes softly. Her car starts. Gravel crunches as she backs out of the driveway. I step into the living room. Mom is looking at the window, teacup still in her hand. And then, for the first time since the hospital, I cry. Not because I'm sad, because my mother just said out loud the thing I've been carrying in my chest for 20 years. And hearing it in her voice made it real. She didn't look at me. She just said, "Come sit down, sweetheart. The tea is still warm." 3 months after the night, everything changed. Mom is doing well. She takes her medication at the same time every morning. I set the alarm on her phone, and she's proud of herself for figuring out how to dismiss it. She eats oatmeal with blueberries, walks to the mailbox and back twice a day, and sees Dr. Pate every 3 weeks. Her blood pressure is lower than it's been in years. Frank still MS the lawn on Saturdays. He brought Mom a bird feeder for Christmas. She hung it from the porch awning, and now they argue about whether the blue jays are bullying the finches. It's the most animated I've heard her since Dad died. The separation is moving forward. Claire filed the paperwork. The division is straightforward. We didn't own much together. Grant keeps the truck, his personal belongings, and his half of our joint savings. $11,400. I keep the rest of the savings, my car, and my name on the lease, which I'll let expire in March. Grant moved back to Ridgemont, Sandra's spare room. He got a transfer to the distribution center satellite office there, so at least he's working. Craig texted me in December. Just one line. "Audrey, I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner." I texted back. "You said it when it mattered, Craig. Thank you. I opened a savings account at First Federal. Just mine, only my name. I deposited my first paycheck into it last week and sat in the parking lot for 5 minutes looking at the receipt. Every 2 weeks, Janine drives up from Carterville. We sit at the kitchen table, Mom, Janine, and me, and eat dinner the way we used to. Loud, warm, overlapping, like the table was always meant for 3. For the first time in 20 years, every dollar I earn goes into an account with only my name on it. It feels like breathing. I'm not telling you this story so you'll hate Grant. I'm telling you because I want you to look at the people around you. Really look and ask one question. Who shows up? Not who says they will. Not who promises, not who texts. Let me know if you need anything and never follows up. Who actually shows up at midnight in the rain without being asked twice for 20 years? I figured it out. Everything. Car breaks down. Figure it out. Mom needs help. Figure it out. Marriage feels empty. Figure it out, Audrey, because the alternative is expensive and complicated and scary. I figured it out so well that Grant forgot I was doing it. He forgot that the bills got paid because I paid them. He forgot that Mom was alive because I checked on her. He forgot that the house ran because I ran it. And the night I needed him, really truly needed him, he grabbed his jacket and walked out the door. Frank showed up in 3 minutes. Grant didn't show up at all. That's not about one night. That's about 1,000 nights. 1,000 small refusals that added up to a wall so high I couldn't see over it anymore. The poker night was just the night I stopped climbing. I don't have everything figured out. I'm 44, living in my childhood bedroom with daisy wallpaper, making oatmeal for my 82-year-old mother and building a savings account one paycheck at a time. It's not glamorous. It's not a movie ending. But I'm here. Mom's here. The porch light is on. And I know something now that I didn't know before. A boundary is not a wall. It's a door. And I get to choose who walks through it. I didn't leave because of one night. I left because of 1,000 nights where I was already alone. One evening in January, Mom and I are watching Jeopardy. She's beating me by $200, which she considers a slow night. She picks up the remote and mutes the TV. Audrey, I want to tell you something. I set down my tea. When Mom mutes Jeopardy, it's serious. I know you think I changed the will because I was angry at Grant. I don't. Let me finish. She folds her hands in her lap. Phthalate from the muted TV flickers across her face. Blue, then white, then blue again. I wasn't angry. I was scared. She pauses, adjusts her glasses. I was lying on that floor, Audrey. My chest felt like someone had parked a car on it. And all I could think was, if I die tonight, my daughter goes home to a man who wouldn't drive 10 minutes to help save me. And everything your father and I worked for. Every double shift, every summer he didn't take vacation. Every year I browned my lunch so we could make another mortgage payment. All of it would end up supporting that man's life. She looks at me. I didn't change the will to punish Grant. I changed it to protect you because I won't always be here, sweetheart. And when I'm gone, I need to know that what we built goes to someone who earned it, not someone who was just convenient. I take her hand. Her fingers are thin, warm, certain. I can't protect you forever, Audrey, but I can make sure my life's work does. We sit there. The TV plays on mute. A contestant is wagering on Final Jeopardy, and Mom will probably know the answer. But right now, neither of us is watching. I squeeze her hand. She squeezes back. That's enough. That's everything. Spring comes the way it always does in Millbrook, slowly, then all at once. Crocuses push through the mulch along Mom's walkway. Frank replaces the winter salt bucket with a bag of potting soil. Mom starts talking about tomatoes. Every evening at 9:00, I turn on the porch light. Across the street, Frank's light answers. It's the same routine Mom and Frank kept for years. I didn't decide to take it over. It just happened. One night I flipped the switch and looked across the street, and there it was, a small warm glow through the darkness. Steady, reliable, present. I don't know what comes next. The divorce will finalize sometime in the summer. Janine is talking about coming up for a week in July. Mom wants to plant a garden. Nothing crazy, just tomatoes and basil. Maybe some peppers if my knees cooperate. Frank is building her a raised bed so she doesn't have to bend down. He measured it twice and cut the wood once. Navy habit, he said. I filed my taxes alone this year. I balanced my own checkbook. I bought a new set of scrubs without asking anyone's permission. Small things, ordinary things, but each one felt like a door opening. Grant sent a birthday card in March, just my name on the envelope. No return address. Inside, one line. I'm sorry, Audrey. I hope you're well. I read it once, put it in the drawer, and went to work. Some people hand you their keys when you need them. Some people drive away. I know the difference now. The porch light is on. The air smells like soil and something green. Mom is inside reading, her glasses sliding down her nose. Frank's light glows across the street. I'm here, she's here, we're here, and that's enough. That's my story. The story of a set of keys, a neighbor named Frank, and an 82-year-old woman who knew her worth down to the last signature. If this hit you somewhere, please leave a comment. Tell me your story. I read every single one. And if you know someone who needs to hear this tonight, share it. Send the link. Sometimes knowing you're not alone is the difference between staying and going. There's another story in the description I think you'll love just as much. Hit subscribe, turn on that bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of the people who take care of you. Good night.